everybody is now focusing on, am I doing something? And in the am I doing something, what can that be?
Yeah.
And this is why so many people were so disappointed that the main suspect's mom actually tipped him off for him to run away when the police was looking for him. And for me, it just goes back to the home. That where do these sons come from? Who's raising them? Who gave birth to them? How are they socialized? And how it's located back to our homes and how we raise our sons. What conversations are we having with our children? And we cannot. I mean, one of the journalists asked me, so what is your advice to young women? And I hope you're not going to ask me that, Thulasizwe, because I said for the longest time, young girls have always been told how to behave, what to do, what not to do, what to wear, what not to wear. Can we now start focusing on how we prevent these atrocious crimes, how we educate, how we unlearn some of the behavior patterns, how we support the victims rather than perpetuating the harmful narrative that blames the victim.
Griselda, I've got to thank you for your time and our condolences to the family. That's Griselda Kananda, a spokesperson for the family of the late Olorato Mongale.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Quick update, the R59 North heavy if you're driving in from the Vaal. A crash before Swakoppies Road. Traffic's piling all the way back through Klip River Drive from the Vaal up to Joburg. That's a heavy one. Durban's M7, even worse than normal this morning. Traffic is literally standing from Huntsdetman all the way up over St John's Avenue Bridge. If you're into Pinetown, give yourself plenty of time to get through. And news not good from Cape Town. Marine Drive users. No traffic lights this morning. Marine Drive, Sunset Beach. So there's queues from Tableview. And then Marine Drive at Parton Island Road. Lights down there. Two queues forming up on the way between Tableview and the N1. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Slipper Day is on the 30th of May, and I'm helping to make big dreams come true. When you support Slipper Day, you're helping Reach for a Dream bring smiles and joy to children facing tough illnesses. Do you want to help too? You can visit reachforadream.org.za to find out more about Slipper Day. Let's do it for the dreamers. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
It's coming up to 4 minutes to 7. Frustration boiling over in the area of Palm Ridge in Ekurhuleni, where residents of Phase 5, Phase 6, Riverside and Ariel will march to Mayor Nkosindipile Xhakaza's office today to hand over a memorandum demanding urgent intervention. Backed by the Palm Ridge Community Forum, the community accuses the city of Ekurhuleni of 3 decades of broken promises, corruption and chronic neglect. Let's speak now to Sipho Linda Mkhonto, who is from the Palm Ridge Community Forum, where he's chairperson. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So when you say 3 decades of broken promises, corruption and chronic neglect, what does that look like on the ground in the areas that we are talking about?
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate to be invited in your show. When we talk about 3 decades of broken promises, we really mean that, because, I mean, we've been living in this place for more than 30 years, and this place has got no electricity, has got no water, no roads. So we are living like, scumbags, but it's very much unfortunate because, for all these years, we know for a fact that the budget to develop this place has been allocated, but at the end of the day, that budget, that money has disappeared, and we are still living in poverty like this.
And just paint a picture for our listeners who may not be familiar with the area. Is this an area that's largely dominated by informal settlements? Because I remember that one of the biggest challenges that Ekurhuleni as a metro faced was the number of informal settlements with the attendant challenges of supplying, for instance, sanitation. So is that kind of an area?
Exactly. Yeah, we are in an informal settlement. So yeah, that's correct. And what we, looking for today is that we are going to hand over that memorandum highlighting, the problems or the issues that we are faced with, because it's not that maybe we are, we just wake up this morning to decide and to hand over a memorandum. It's been, events where the local councillor, even the MMC of Energy, came to us in many occasions to make promises that recently the promises that he made last year is that by November, December last year, the electricity is going to be installed in this place, but none of that had happened. And he never even came to people, to address people on what are the reasons for the delay. Nothing has happened. So that is the reason today we are marching to the mayor of Ekurhuleni to hand over our memorandum.
And just paint a picture for us of the link between the service delivery failures and perhaps socio-economic difficulties and social ills, things such as crime and the likes. Is there a link that you are seeing in the whole sense of safety or, otherwise of residents of the area?
Thank you very much for that question. You see, what is happening, these issues are very much related, because what we are experiencing, remember that we have no electricity, the place is dark. So what is happening is that the level of crime has escalated. I can even make an example. There's a woman with children who has been isolated to stay alone in the open space, while other people are, are made to stay together. But that woman has been isolated on the basis that she did not have money to pay people who were responsible for that particular allocation. So you can imagine in a situation where we read or we learn or we watch in TV on daily basis that women and children have been raped, killed. But we have a situation where a woman is staying alone in an open space. So the level of crime has gone up, and people, because obviously, because of the high level of unemployment, the level of crimes have escalated, skyrocketed. So those are the problems that we are facing in our area.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Sipho Linda Mkonto from the Palm Ridge Community Forum. Let's check in now with Ann Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, prime suspect in Olorato murder case killed in police shootout, and France bans smoking in outdoor spaces. Good morning. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says police have arrested 2 suspects that were with Pilangenkosi Makhanya, who was the main suspect in the murder case of Olorato Mongale. Makhanya died during a shootout with police in Amanzimtoti in KwaZulu-Natal in the early hours of the morning. Makhanya's parents were also taken in for questioning on the matter, after his mother allegedly tipped him off that police were looking for him. Mkhwanazi briefed the media outside a flat where Makhanya was cornered and shot by police.
The team has been tracing from Johannesburg, working with KZN, following up the information. The vehicle was located in one of the townships, the Penel Beta shop, and the vehicle was traced to be belonging to an owner at Kwamashu Township. And we arrived there, and the boy was not there. The father confirmed that his son was using the vehicle. The son is the one that has been on the public space about being involved in the murder of that girl. We then be able to pick up the vehicle that picked him up yesterday morning, and we followed that vehicle until we located the car. From there, we were able to then trace all the movements of that vehicle, where it dropped off, who was traveling with them. So we do have the suspect driving the vehicle. We have the accomplice that was also with him.
Justice Minister Mamoloko Kubai says the department is committed to reviewing the country's parole laws as well as the Criminal Procedure Act. This after police revealed that 2 of the 3 suspects wanted in connection with the murder of 30-year-old Olerato Mongale had been out on bail. The 2 suspects were arrested last month on charges of kidnapping and robbery. This has highlighted concerns to better protect ordinary South Africans. Kubai says the Justice Department is working on ways to protect society without violating the rights of the accused.
As the Justice Cluster, we have agreed that we are going to review our processes. We are going to look at where the gaps are. Fortunately, we had a Justice Cluster meeting, what we call JCPS. One of the items was to look at the parole. How far are we in terms of reviewing the parole and also the Criminal Procedure Act that we are responsible for? So both the Department of Correctional Services and Department of Justice having to review that. There are interim measures that the Minister has committed that is going to put in place to assist in terms of responding to this, where there's high crimes.
2 stray lions have been spotted in the veld at Planjem Tititi village on the northern side of the Kruger National Park in Limpopo. The lions are believed to have escaped from the park as it borders the village. Community spokesperson Isaac Oza says the rangers were called but could not trace the animals. Environmental Affairs authorities are yet to comment. Koza is calling on the communities and livestock farmers to remain alert.
The lions were spotted at the bushes where animals, usually cattle, are grazing at places close to Kruger National Park, Shangoni Gate. Authorities dealing with wild animals were alerted and came to search but could not get anything. We are alerting our community members to be on high alert.
Limpopo Premier Dr. Popi Ramatuba has described the death of struggle veteran and human rights activist Dean Tsenuwani Farisane as a loss to the country. Farisane died after an illness yesterday. He was aged 76. He was an ANC MP, Speaker and MEC in the Limpopo legislature between 1997 and 2009. Ramatuba says he was a father figure.
A very sad day for us. As a provincial government, we are deeply pained by the loss of a towering figure, Dr. Dean Tsenuwani Farisane. To us, he was more than just a political leader. He was indeed a moral compass, a man of faith whose courage has helped shape the democratic landscape of our country, a father to many of us.
And finally, the French government has announced a ban on smoking in all outdoor places that can be accessed by children. The BBC's Isabella Jurel has the details.
Currently in France, smoking is prohibited in areas such as workplaces, airports and train stations. With the new rules, which will be effective from July, smoking will not be allowed in any outdoor space that could be frequented by children, including beaches, parks, public gardens, outside schools, bus stops and sports venues. Breaking the new rules will incur a fine of around $150. The outdoor areas of cafes and bars, known as terraces, will be exempt from the ban, as is the smoking of electronic cigarettes.
Recapping the top story, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says police have arrested 2 suspects that were with Pilangenkosi Makhanya, who was the main suspect in the murder case of Olerato Mongale. Makhanya died during a shootout with police in Amanzimtoti in the early hours of the morning. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Looking for some feel-good news? Jermaine, a 43-year-old man, feels like a winner because he now saves 360 Rand a month on his car insurance premium. That's right. Jermaine switched to Outsurance and now saves a mind-blowing 360 Rand a month on his 2021 Mazda 3 1.5 Dynamic. Outsurance clients always get something out. You could too. Get a quote today and see how much they could save you on your car insurance. Make today the day you switch and save with Outsurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. It's soccer with the Bafana coach Hugo Bruges calling for long-term planning, and SuperSport United avoid relegation. We'll find out more just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy on the R59, coming in from the Vaal to Joburg. A crash before Swartkoppies Road. Traffic heavily back through Klip River Drive at this stage. Durban's M7, really heavy, heavier than normal for motorists wanting to get into Pinetown. There's literally standing traffic from Hunstedman Highway all the way up over St John's Avenue Bridge and into that central Pinetown area. Durban's M2, pretty heavy for a Friday, queuing up. There's a broken down vehicle not helping either. Stationary vehicle after the M7. So there's a queue coming through from the cement factory around that vehicle through Spaghetti Junction and up to Westwood Mall. Cape Town's R300, that'll surprise you, jam-packed from Delft up towards the Van Riebeek Road exit. And no traffic lights this morning. Marine Drive at Sunset Beach and Marine Drive at Pardon Island. Two queues to work through on the run through to central Cape Town. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Friday. It is great to be in your company. This is the second hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief. We came in hot in the first hour, right? We came in hot in the sense that I didn't really get the chance to greet you properly and tell you what's coming up on the show and things like those because we simply had to go immediately. It was that important that we go immediately to the briefing that was being held by the KZN SAPS Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who was giving an update on their investigations into the killing of Olorato Mongale. Basically, the update there coming from the police is that one suspect, the main suspect in that killing, has been shot and killed in an exchange of gunfire with police officers in the area of Amanzimtoti. So that was an important one. We had to take that, and we took some reaction from the family spokesperson, Criselda Kananda, just responding to that news coming through from KZN. So in this hour then, here's what we're going to tell you. We'll touch a bit on the sentencing of Kelly Smith, the mother of Jocelyn Smith, along with her accomplices, Jacqueline Apollis, Stefano van Rijn. They were sentenced to life imprisonment yesterday on the human trafficking charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. So the community there, the sense of relief that justice has been served, you could hear it when the sentencing was announced, the immediate reaction from the community coming through. But still the concern about where this child is because, since the child went missing some 15 months ago, there's been no news. And in fact, these now convicted people in this case have simply refused to come through with any details. So I'll be speaking to Megan Breeder, who is the Director of Programs at Save the Children South Africa, in that conversation coming up in the next few minutes. And then shortly after that, we'll speak to Professor Nemala Devi Gopal, and we'll be talking about the modus operandi of this syndicate that police are telling us has been operating on the basis that they woo women that they identify, particularly at shopping malls across the country in multiple provinces. They woo these women under the pretext of wanting to pursue a romantic relationship, only to later kidnap and rob them. This is what we are told happened in this instance of Olorato Mongale. I'll be speaking to Professor Nemala Devi Gopal just on the modus operandi and what the implications are in the broader fight against crime and against violence against women in this country. And then later on, I'll be talking to Paseka Letsatsi, and that's coming up at about 20 to 8. We'll be talking about the 210,000 social grant beneficiaries that the South African Social Security Agency alleges failed to truthfully declare their income. So that's how it's looking in this hour. But through it all, I want to hear from you, so do give me a call. Let's engage. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. I'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The second hour of the Friday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of your car about to cost you a lot of money. Sorry. The engine noise you should be hearing is the boat on your upcoming diving trip. But don't let cash flow hold you back. Do both. Get a Nedbank personal loan of up to 400,000 Rand. Apply online at nedbank.co.za today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
EFC is live this Thursday. The indestructible champion Zakir Badat descends from the Wild Mountains to defend his welterweight title against Nigeria's electrifying kickboxing champion Segun Ogunaiki. Plus, Timnan Lawuli takes on Sibusiso Suvendila, and undefeated Kevin Pretorius steps up to challenge Oswaldo Benedito. EFC 124 live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Big stories of the day. #TheMorningBrief.
So 15 months after 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith's disappearance shocked the country, her mother, Kelly Smith, and her two accomplices, Jacqueline Apollis, Stefano van Rijn, have been sentenced to life imprisonment on the human trafficking charge on which they were convicted earlier this month. The trio has also been sentenced to 10 years in prison each for the kidnapping charge. As Western Cape High Court Division Judge Nathan Erasmus handed down the sentences, loud applause broke out from the community members sitting in the public gallery at the Saldanha Bay Multipurpose Centre where the trial has been taking place. Judge Erasmus was searing in explaining his reasoning for the sentences imposed, lamenting a lack of remorse by all three, and especially the child's mother, Kelly Smith. Let's speak to Megan Brady, who is Director of Programs at Save the Children South Africa. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So the judge undertaking that entire and usual exercise of weighing up the various factors in considering the sentence, the personal circumstances of each accused, the circumstances of the crime, the community's interests, etc., etc. Does the sentence serve as an acceptable measure of justice in this particular case, in your view?
Thank you very much. Well, absolutely, the sentence does. A life sentence clearly states that we as South Africans will not tolerate the exploitation of our children.
And how significant do you believe the securing of a guilty verdict and these sentences is, under the unique circumstances of this case, involving as it does the mother of the child and the fact that the child has still not been found dead or alive?
Yeah, I think that it definitely sends a message to anybody else who would think of such heinous acts that we will not accept it in this country, that they will be held accountable. I think the concern, though, is the continued silence of her mother and her co-accused on exactly what has happened. And I think that that's what prompted a part of the sentencing, is that by not speaking out and not showing any remorse or concern for where this child is, makes it very, very clear that, the lack of care by her parents.
Yeah.
By her mother. And I think that's part of the reasoning.
Just the dynamics that were at play, the unity of the community in that area in their shock and outrage, and their clear, demonstrable thirst for a measure of justice. What does that tell us about the state of that community, but also about how they feel about matters that we face as broader South Africa around the safety of children?
I think that the community played a very large role in this actual, the case, how fast it moved, even in the sentencing. And I think what it says to us very clearly is that as a community, we need to stand together against the abuse of children, that you cannot be silent in these incidents, and we need to also be vigilant as community members in protecting our children. This is not a family matter. It's not issues that need to be dealt with within the home and quietly. We need to speak out and we need to have a voice.
Yet at the same time, you as an organization have been quite vocal about the disturbing undercurrents of this case, the plight of children in South Africa. What's the context of the case as it relates to the levels of children going missing, as well as the broader exposure of children to violence?
Yes, definitely. So at Save the Children, we remain concerned that the rate of abuse in our country is high. Violence against children is extreme. The statistics show that 42% of children in our country, if interviewed, will tell you that they've experienced some form of violence. So we as a nation are perpetuating the cycle of violence within our homes all the time, and we need to address that if we are ever going to shift the needle and the outcomes for our children.
And I saw you shared a statistic about how many children have gone missing in the last 5 years.
At the moment, the statistics vary, but they're saying at approximately approximately 5 children each day will go missing. The reasons are different. They could be, within the family challenges like maintenance disputes, but there are also larger concerns. For example, children being abducted, as in the case of Jocelyn Smith being trafficked.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Megan Breedy, who is Director of Programs at Save the Children South Africa. So as you can hear, the case has concluded with that sentencing, but clearly the broader conversation about the plight of children, exposure to violence. We are told some 3,000 children have gone missing in the last 5 years. So that there's clearly an issue for us to continue to grapple with. And also the issue of where Jocelyn Smith is. That question remains unanswered.
Do you want to study towards a tertiary qualification but need a flexible study schedule? Stadio Higher Education's distance learning qualifications offer just that. Our distance learning support is designed for your success. 2025 applications to Stadio's range of high-quality, affordable qualifications are now open. Distance learning qualifications are available in law, administration and management, commerce, teacher education, policing, law enforcement, humanities, and information technology. Visit stadio.ac.za and register today. Stadio, a new vision in higher education.
The rivalry between continental reigning champions Banyana Banyana and the Copper Queens will reach its maximum heat as they intensify their WAFCON preparations. The clock is on a downhill towards their journey to Morocco. This is the international friendly. Catch the incredible clash between South Africa and Zambia on Tuesday, 3 June at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
So let's turn to this now. The shocking murder of Johannesburg postgraduate student Olorato Mongale has exposed a disturbing criminal syndicate that allegedly targets, robs and kills women using fake identities as part of their modus operandi and cloned vehicles. Police have traced a white VW Polo vehicle used in Mongale's abduction and murder to a panel beating workshop in Phoenix in KwaZulu-Natal, and forensic teams have found traces of blood, and of course the latest being the killing of the main suspect in a shootout with police, and that news coming through this morning. Let's talk about the modus operandi and how it fits in with broader crime patterns in the country. Let's speak to Professor Nemala Devi Gopal, who is academic leader in criminology and forensic studies at the University of KZN. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. I've certainly heard of syndicates, romance syndicates, where people scam women for large amounts of money. But how common is it to have an entire syndicate using the pretext of a romantic relationship to lure their victims, to kidnap and rob them?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for having me on your show. I think it is absolutely not unusual to have these syndicates that operate in the way they do. They're not exclusive to South Africa. You would find these kinds of syndicates all over the world. But unfortunately, what happens in a South African context, but also in other countries where we might have weaker controls in terms of law enforcement and legislation, you would probably find a greater existence, and the extent would probably be larger.
So say a bit more about that, because I've been wondering about the broader environment around crime. Police can't be everywhere all the time. So in the social interactions, police can't be expected to be everywhere all the time. But to what extent does the failure to minimize and reduce levels of crime in general in the broader ecosystem contribute to the thriving of syndicates such as these and incidents such as the ones we've seen?
So, I think it's that's a really good question. And my immediate response to that would be, in order to so-called fight crime, it's absolutely critical that we use a proactive response. And proactive, whether it's policing, proactive measures within our country, especially given the large, the huge social economic disparities that we have existing, the large number of poverty-stricken citizens, etc. I think unless we have a proactive strategy, and by proactive strategy I would think for me would mean creating jobs so that people have a livelihood, increasing the income that goes to families. It would mean making sure that our communities are happy, making sure that our communities are very well integrated into the justice system, largely through the community policing forums. And I think for me, that kind of integrated approach will take us further than disaggregating and expecting it to happen merely through the presence of the police. It's not going to happen through the presence of the police, definitely not.
But is there a further conversation, and I take the point you're making, Prof, but is there a further conversation and perhaps a point of reflection on the broader criminal justice system? Because of late, I've been hearing from a lot of my, the callers that call into the show, that there is a sense that there's something there to look at in terms of the deterrence that comes through from the criminal justice system, working efficiently and delivering consequences to those who commit these crimes. That sense that people get away with it, people feeling that feeds into some of these crimes.
I think that's an important question as well, and I can understand the views, the perceptions of the public. I think what is very important is that the criminal justice system is it's one pillar. So in addition to the criminal justice system, we need to attend to the other pillars, and the other pillars would be development, social development, economic development, sport and recreation. So we need all of these pillars to come together, as I mentioned earlier, so that the policing ministry is not the only ministry that should be actually taking the flak. And I think, unfortunately, because we see it in we have such a narrow focus in terms of how crime should actually be resolved, we absolve the responsibilities of the other ministries as well. And I think for me, what is so critical is for us to go on awareness and empowerment campaigns across the country, road shows that alert and conscientize people, our citizens, to the fact that it cannot be fought alone. Issues of crime in the country cannot be fought alone.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Professor Nimala Devi Gopal, who is academic leader in criminology and forensic studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So Hugo Bruce is talking about, let's move away from this piecemeal, let's survive until we get to AFCON, survive until we get to COSAFA, till we get to the World Cup, etc. But think long term.
Yeah, he wants a long-term vision, our Hugo Bruges. I mean, we know SAFA sometimes can be buffering. They seem to have some issues there, but he's not sugar-coating it as coach.
Wait,
Hugo
did you say
Bruges.
buffering? Is that a reference to
no Wi-Fi?
When your connection is slow, so they're buffering.
Yeah.
That circle is spinning.
Okay. Yes, that's exactly the point made there, Thulas, because Coast Bruges dropped, a full bench of Kaizer Chiefs players, by the way, saying that football needs consistency. Let's hear from the coach, Hugo Bruges.
From the bottom to the highest level, everything is good for the moment. But I think we are on a crossroad for the moment, because now we have to react as a football federation. If we are happy now, and just happy, I can assure you, in 2-3 years, you don't find anything anymore of what we have now.
Domestic football, SuperSport United have officially avoided relegation. That's the playoffs. After drawing 1-1 with Golden Arrows yesterday, it ends a bizarrely prolonged fixture, resumed after being abandoned earlier this year. Interim coach Andre Arendse says it was one of the most important 45 minutes of football he's ever managed.
I was saying this morning to my technical team, I've been in the game for over 30 years, having the honor of playing at the highest level, experiencing the nerves, the pressure, but this is on a totally different level. And this is what we have to show. The character that I asked for my players to come into this game and just do what we had to do to see it through. The commitment, the focus, it was all there today, and I can't fault that. And it's all down to them. All the credit must go to the players.
Cricket news: Royal Challengers Bengaluru are one match from a first Indian Premier League title after sealing a place in the final with an 8-wicket thrashing of the Punjab Kings. Tennis action: two Americans, the 3rd seed Jessica Pegula and the 7th seed Madison Keys, have reached the 3rd round of Roland Garros. So has Coco Gauff. She has done exceptionally well. Veronika Kudermetova causing an upset. She put out the former champion Barbara Krejcikova. Yannick Sinner, he's through as well. He beat the 38-year-old Richard Gasquet, marking Gasquet's end of his playing career. And Portuguese qualifier Henrik Rocha causing an upset, taking down the number 19 seed Jakub Mensik 2-6, 1-6, 6-4, 6-3, 6-3. And the British number 1 Jack Draper, he ousted the home favourite Game on Feast, and Novak Djokovic came through in straight sets as well. More sport will volley back with you at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, says it would be impossible to quantify the cost of implementing the National Health Insurance. He was speaking yesterday at a forum held in Hyde Park in Johannesburg by the Progressive Business Forum, aimed at unpacking the NHI Act and the future of healthcare in the country. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says police have arrested 2 suspects that were with Pilangenkosi Makanya, who was the main suspect in the murder case of Olurato Mongale. Makanya died during a shootout with police in Amanzimtoti in KwaZulu-Natal in the early hours of the morning. And the UN top official responsible for humanitarian aid has said the people of Gaza are being subjected to forced starvation by Israel. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very slow on the R59, approaching a crash just before Swartkoppies Road. It's on your way off the Vaal into Joburg. N14, Krugersdorp Highway, again queuing between the R55, Pretoria West exit, and the Brockfontein interchange. Durban's N2 North is heavy this morning, jamming up from the M7, past the breakdown at Spaghetti Junction, or before Spaghetti Junction, and then into the roadworks at Westwood Mall. So it is a pretty heavy run on the N2 North towards Mgena Road. M19 into Durban from Dunkeld Road territory, very slow through Reservoir Hills. Problems on the M19 Durban bound approaching the N2 highway this morning. M7 into Pinetown, busy, but it has eased. It's off its worst. Cape Town, the busy R44 route, a crash just north of Annandale. If you're leaving Somerset West on your way to Stellenbosch, there's quite heavy traffic queues there. N2 inbound, a crash at Meway, queuing traffic in front of Khayelitsha. And Marine Drive, traffic light problems this morning coming out of Tableview. No lights, Marine Drive at Bay Beach Avenue, and then Marine Drive at Pardon Island Road by the harbour, those lights down as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with news out of the retail sector. Tell me about SPAR and them continuing to trim their international operations.
That's right, Thulas. Now, the retailer is shedding itself of what it's dubbed non-core assets and is exploring ditching certain operations in Europe. That includes SPAR Switzerland and associated wholesale grocers in the UK. Now, the company is in exclusive negotiations with a UK-based business for AWG and has been engaging potential buyers for SPAR Switzerland. This move is part of SPAR's efforts to reshape its portfolio and focus on core operations. According to analysts, the classification of these operations as held for sale signals a decisive move to reshape the group's portfolio and actively manage underperforming assets. Now, this is also taking place while it struggles with a downbeat balance sheet, and in a trading update, SPAR warned of a profit hit, warning that earnings could fall as much as 10%. It says the half-year period was mixed. It managed to see green shoots in Southern Africa, where the groceries and liquor segment delivered modest top-line growth, while Ireland's performance was resilient. However, the company recognized total impairments of about 4.2 billion rands. This is in relation to the units it's selling, as well as the divestment of the Polish business concluded in January, which resulted in a loss on disposal of 531 million rands.
In tourism and the hospitality sector, why is Tsogosan reporting a decline in earnings?
Yeah, they've pointed to the tough operating environment, particularly in its casinos segment. While we have seen online gambling boom, it seems like it's not booming as much in the casinos, Thulas. So they've, flagged that. The group reporting an earnings decline of 16%. This comes as net operating income was flat at 11.2 billion rands. Now, the balance sheet aside, in its results commentary, Tsogosan expressed frustration over the slow pace of regulatory approvals and the dominance of a single player in the Western Cape casino market. For over 10 years, the company has been trying to invest in and expand its casino and hotel facilities in Somerset West and Strand, but its plans have been stalled due to the provincial authorities' inability to process its application. Now, the group added that the Western Cape casino market is dominated by a rival operator, accounting for about 81% of the province's casino revenue. Tsogosan argues that this monopoly limits competition, restricts consumer choice and undermines efforts to develop the tourism and entertainment infrastructure in the region. Despite these challenges, though, company CEO Chris du Toit says the group remains committed to investing in the region and hopes to see changes, regulatory changes, that would allow for more competition and growth in the region's casino market.
I don't mean to troll you, but there was something Trumpian about the way you used that word boom when you said the gambling sector is not booming. It's not booming as much. The economy will boom. The United States will boom. The markets will boom. Lastly, Ntauling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
So kicking things off in Asia, markets in the red as lingering uncertainty about the US's trade policies continued to weigh on the markets after an appeals court temporarily paused the lower court's ruling to block President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs. The Hong Kong Hang Seng leading the losses on that front. It's down 1.4% this morning. It's also red screens in the US when it comes to futures. Tariff concerns coming in to bite on that front, and investors there are also eyeing the PCE figures, those numbers out later today. Coming back home, markets trading in the opposite direction, mostly in positive territory. The all share closing yesterday's session up 0.9%. The rand also trading stronger, benefiting from a weaker dollar and better sentiment in SA. It is sitting at 17.84 to the dollar this hour.
All right, Ntauling, thank you for that. That's Ntauling Lechela. She'll be back with one more update for you just before we go, just before the resumption of trade for this Friday morning in the JSE.
We all have an enemy.
Not me.
Oh, please. Trust me, you do. Some are vocal about it. I mean, they don't shy away from it. Open hatred. Well, at least they're honest about it. Then you get our Satan. Oh, they will hate you in the shadows. Consult the Magoya of Baloi. Maybe an Nkabi for you here and there. Trash your name until it can't even be recycled. Tune into My Secret Enemy and get a front row seat to some of the most spine-chilling stories in the Hall of Betrayal. My Secret Enemy, Mondays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Banyana Banyana, African champions host Zambia and Botswana in the Three Nations Challenge to prepare for their title defense in Morocco. All matches will be at the Lucas Moripe Stadium at 3 p.m. Banyana Banyana take on Botswana on Wednesday the 28th of May. Then Zambia faces Botswana on Saturday the 31st of May. And Banyana Banyana close with Zambia on Tuesday the 3rd of June 2025. The nation with the most points wins the trophy. And the tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 40 Rand for adults and 20 Rand for children under 12 and scholars in uniform. For more details, visit safa.net and Banyana_Banyana on X. For the love of the game.
With all the recent headlines, it's time for some good news. A 25-year-old man, Tyler, is smiling all the way to the bank. He switched to OUTsurance and now saves a whopping 718 Rand a month on the insurance for his 2021 Ford Figo 1.5. OUTsurance clients always get something out. You could too. Get a quote today and see how much they could save you on your car insurance. Make today the day you switch and save with OUTsurance. SMS OUT to 30754. That's OUT to 30754. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let's take one or two of your calls and your voice notes at this moment. We've not really had a chance to do exactly that. So let me just quickly get to your voice notes if I can work the systems. It seems my system are a bit slow this morning. But there's been all these conversations. We've been getting the reactions to the news that is coming out of KZN and the shooting dead of the main suspect in the Olorato Mongale murder investigation in an encounter with police in Amanzimtoti. SABC News, by the way, reporting extensively on that. So you can follow that coverage on the SABC News channel as well as other platforms of the SABC. Let me hear what the reactions have been that have been coming through.
Yes, good morning. Justice has been served to the late Olerato.
you give the victim justice proportional to the crime committed. It's murder. If you kill somebody, you get what has happened in Natal. You must be dealt with harshly. Harshly, yes. Because you killed somebody. Come on, man. You killed somebody. What justice? Court? What court? You must go meet the maker once and for all.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are starting to express that kind of a sentiment. And I always urge that caution that we must strike a balance where the reaction is warranted. It should come without hesitation. And I think the police in KZN would be able to tell you instances where they've approached suspects and the suspects pulled out firearms. Well, as has been said in many cases, when someone does that, you're pretty much putting your fate in the hands of the police officers and their ability to defend themselves. But I think I always urge the caution that the judicial system must always come through, right? So that this doesn't become route one. This doesn't become our route one for justice. We must continue to have that sense of faith and belief in the justice system. And that will only come through when the entirety of the justice system works for the benefit and vindication of justice and vindication of victims in this country. Let me play one or two voice notes about the sentencing. And this is one of those instances where we saw the judicial and the justice system working together in the Jocelyn Smith case. Let's hear what one or two of you have had to say about that.
Simelane, happy Friday. This Jocelyn Smith story, how can they don't know where Jocelyn went to? The mother and the two guys that was just locked up, they must actually get the 26s or 28s, the guys from the gangs, to torture them and to ask them where the kid is. For 5 kids a day. Come on, man.
Yeah, so there you have it. Again, that sentiment that says something more needs to be happening to vindicate, our right to justice in this country. You're hearing that quite a lot. Let me take a call from Glenn in Bedford View. Good morning to you, Glenn. Short and sharp for me and straight to the point. You want to raise this issue around the shooting of this the main suspect?
Yes, Thulas, my brother. That is justice for me. I am very happy. At least Olorado is gone. At least the main suspect is gone too. So that is brilliant. Thank you. Well done to Commissioner Mkwana. Thank you, Thulas.
Glenn in Bedford View. Thank you for that. Let me move on to Linda in Boksburg. Good morning to you, Linda. You also want to weigh in on this issue.
Good morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
All right. Listen, quick one. The issue of the so-called syndicate kidnapping and robbing people, I think that's a wrong caption of this issue. The issue here is not about, no one can simply go around and kidnap people for robbing them because they don't even know how much this person has in their possession or what phones do they have.
Yes.
This is the killing of Isithwalo.
Is it?
This is, it's a clear, take the story about...
So just to explain, Isithwalo is this for multi-purposes where some rituals are going to be performed with certain beliefs that are attached to it. Yeah, please go ahead.
The suspects are on bail, having been found with after they kidnapped someone else. There is no intention to rob. You can't kidnap someone with an intention to rob randomly. What do you know? You spend resources, a car, people to do that. No, it doesn't happen that way. It's a clear plan. There's a syndicate that is kidnapping people for their own ritual things, and they're targeting a type of they target, whether it's women in their middle age or whether it's children. Something to that nature.
Linda,
let's call it for what it is.
Yeah, Linda, thank you for that. And I think you posed the question more eloquently than I was able to. That for me, this whole syndicate and the modus operandi, there's a lot there that I just don't understand. As you say, kidnapping someone in the hope that when you finally get to robbing them, they will have something that's worthwhile for you. But I suppose crime really doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't always make sense. And these guys are just at large to do as they please until we are able to rein in on this situation. Let me take a call from Gordon in Joburg. Good morning to you, Gordon. You want to talk about the issue of crime in this country?
Good morning, my brother Thulalizwe. Look, I've been
all my life amongst sentenced and unsentenced prisoners, ex-prisoners. I have, in fact, put my life aside to deal with crime, criminals, all sort of crime, all sort of criminals, and I can assure you, for as long as we are not going to also put efforts, I'm talking about the captains of industry, those who have access to means of production, both black and white monopoly capitalists, not investing in also the causes of crime and violence. We can shoot all of them, we can bring back the death penalty, but this will be, and it is a generational malice, and it is a generational anomaly. And let's say this, the Minister of Justice, Correctional Services, and the Minister of Police should have by now had a strategy how they're going to make sure that those who commit crime, whether it's white, black, blue, gray, or common law political crimes, are arrested, are rounded up, are sent to prison, come back, law-abiding citizens. The cycle will keep on going on. And finally, thank you very much this morning. I'm not gagged, I'm not censored, and I'm not...
Miles. Gotcha. Thank you. That's Miles there. Gordon in Joburg, he calls himself. Let me take a call from Mbuyisa in Ladysmith. Good morning. You also want to weigh in on this investigation around Olorato Mongalo's killing.
There's nothing so painful than when the killer is arrested and appear in court. When he's marshaled down the cells, he's smiling, waving hands to his family in front of the grieving family. So, Mkonazi save us from that. Denial. So, I thank you, General Mkonazi, for that. Because I know these people, they are just killing. When they are in court, there are a lot of rights. People are going to be questioned. The police, did you follow procedure? What? So, Mkonazi save us from that pain. Thank you very much.
All right, Mbuyisa, thank you for that. And I think you make the point even better than I did, that until the overwhelming majority of us feel that we have that confidence that whatever the crime, whoever the suspect is, justice will be vindicated by the criminal justice system in its entirety. And this is not to point a finger at the judiciary alone, but it's also to say those who arrest will effect the arrest, quite expeditiously and professionally, and following all the required procedures. Those who investigate crimes will do so. Those who prosecute the crimes, oh my goodness, those who prosecute the crimes will do a proper job and ensure that in the end, the judges are left with no other way but to come to what is a just finding around these issues. Let me take a voice note that has to do with the story we've been telling you about, the South African Social Security Agency talking about 210,000 social grant beneficiaries who are engaging in what they call double dipping, in that they have another source of income, and SASSA saying that they will freeze the payment of their grants for June until they come through and verify themselves.
Good morning, Thulas and SAFM listeners. Thulas, I'm glad you are going to work with Paseka Letsatsi, because some of the mothers that are getting that child support grant are already being told at SASSA offices next week they're going to miss that payment. So it is going to be a 2-month payment. Thanks. It's Lucy in Gauteng.
Lucy, thank you for that. We'll be sure to put those questions to the SASSA spokesperson, Paseka Letsatsi, when we discuss that particular issue in the next few minutes.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A field to Joburg traffic, with the exception of a crash on the M1 North going up into Winnie Mandela. So from Randburg, moving through to Four Ways is quite slow. Back of the queue there, just back beyond sort of Malabongwe drive towards Bayers Nordia. N3 North from Alex up into Buccleuch is quite slow. And there's a lot of pressure on the M1 North. You're going to be asked to queue this morning, coming through Deepcliff Interchange down to Uncle Charlie's. Backlog across all lanes, right back to the Golden Highway. It's a busy, high volume route these days, that N1 going north. Durban, a broken down vehicle before Spaghetti Junction. So queues from the M7, passing that vehicle up through the roadworks at Westwood Mall. Some lights off as you come off the M4 onto the Esplanade. That's quite slow. The M4, the Ruth First Highway, coming I was just going to say coming into Durban, but it's out of Durban. Quite heavy in the Durban North area up towards Blue Lagoon. On your way towards Mhlanga, looking slow. Pietermaritzburg, Durban, either direction, checks fine, no major problems, no surprises yet. It will be a crazy weekend. Saturday and Sunday, key reach through Hammersdale on the Pietermaritzburg side, going down to a single lane, both days, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Start consulting Google Maps or whatever you use to find that alternative M13 R103 Old Main Road. Go between sort of Hillcrest and Cato Ridge on the back road to avoid what is going to be a chaotic weekend. Cape Town, pretty heavy backlogs on the R300 this morning, climbing slowly up towards the N1 outbound towards Okavango Road. And a crash in front of Khayelitsha on the N2 inbound at Muway, and a collision between Somerset West and Stellenbosch holding up on the R44 towards that scene just past Annandale Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Your night's just got a turbo boost. Buckle up, because at 10 p.m. it's all thrill, mystery and pure entertainment. Mondays to Wednesdays, we are back on the track with Top Gear Season 14, where speed meets insanity and the world's wildest cars get pushed to their limits. On Thursdays, we uncover the truth in Imposter, Back from the Dead. Season 1 kicks off with chilling twists in a tale of deception, survival, and secrets long buried. Fridays, we take a deep dive into the unknown with Secrets of the Bermuda, exploring the myths, the disappearances, and the terrifying truth behind the world's most infamous triangle. 3 explosive shows, 1 unforgettable hour. It all starts at 10 p.m. only on S3. Don't miss it!
EFC is live this Thursday. The indestructible champion Zakir Badat descends from the wild mountains to defend his welterweight title against Nigeria's electrifying kickboxing champion Segun Ogunaike. Plus, Timnan Lawuli takes on Sibusiso Suvendila, and undefeated Kevin Pretorius steps up to challenge Oswaldo Benedito. EFC 124 live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
7 minutes to 8 on this Friday. The South African Social Security Agency, SASSA, has identified over 210,000 social grant beneficiaries who allegedly failed to truthfully declare their income, potentially defrauding the social assistance system. The discovery, made in partnership with registered credit bureaus, has led to the delay of the June 2025 payments for those affected. Let's speak to Paseka Letsatsi, who is spokesperson of the South African Social Security Agency, and joins me now for that conversation. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So what is your message as SASSA to these 210,000 or so beneficiaries? Is it that if they're not paid in June, it's not a glitch, it's intentional on your part?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and thanks for having me. Look, you are 100% correct. If those beneficiaries who are affected do not get paid, they must know that it's not permanent. All that we simply expect from them is to present themselves at the SASSA office and present their correct credentials. We have observed, Thulasizwe, that people, when they come and they are requested to present their credentials, they falsify the information. So we just want to engage with them so that if there's any wrongdoing, we can then be able to rectify it.
Tell me about the work that went into identifying these 210,000 beneficiaries, and are you confident that your due diligence will be found to be proper, that these are not people who are entitled to a social grant but that is being withheld?
We are having an agreement with the other the financial sector, so that we know that when a person presents themselves at SASSA office, they would say, would ask them the platform which they want to use. In this instance, a person would choose Bank X to get their grant. However, they would have opened another bank account where they are paid. So we always appeal to people that the system we have, Thulasizwe, currently is able to determine or to check if in case a person or an applicant has given us a wrongful information. Hence, where I stand here, Thulasizwe, responding to your question directly, is that I'm actually 100% correct that what we have done is basically correct.
So run that modus operandi by me once again. Are you saying that people will come and apply to you using one set of details but will have an alternate bank account in which some form of income comes in?
Definitely. And all that we are asking is that, Thulasizwe, if you come to us, you are not working, you qualify for a grant. When your condition changes, please present the credentials to us so that we can then be able to stop the grant and give it to the needy. However, in some instances, when condition of people changes, they get employed, they decide to sit and not give us the information. So we are appealing to them that whatever changed which happens in your condition, please do not wait for us to follow you. Present yourself, and we are still doing this thing, Thulasizwe, in a cordial manner. We just want people to present themselves so that we can sort out the matter without involving other law enforcement agencies and so forth.
And in the past, Paseka, you have been criticized as SASSA for determining that a person has another form of income based on some money passing through their bank account at some point in the month, even if that money is not really a form of income. That judgment in January, for example, was quite scathing on that aspect, that sometimes it will be money that someone is handling for a third person, or just a relative deciding that this month I'm able to send 1,000 rand to my relative, and you guys would then term that to be income. How sure are we that we're not dealing with that in many of the cases of these 210,000 people?
We are sure these 210,000 are your mainstream grants. It's not your 370. The 370 is assessed differently. So in this one, it's obviously a different case altogether in terms of the needs test. It's not about a person depositing money into your account and obviously relating to what you have just raised about the court case. It is people who are getting permanent social grants, and there are certain processes which we agree with them as they come and make an application, that they must make sure that they present them to SASSA. So just to clarify, Thulasizwe, it's not the same. The 370 COVID grant is a separate case altogether.
And what is the threshold of income that you have detected, and also in terms of the law? I don't imagine, Paseka, that the law would, and I haven't checked, but you'll correct me if I'm wrong, I don't imagine that the law would be against a person doing odd jobs and maybe getting paid 150 rand a month, in their locality, in their community. I imagine that this needs to meet a certain threshold that then qualifies it as income, such that they are then excluded from having access to a social grant with the consequences you are seeking to mete out now.
You are quite right, Thulasizwe. It's not a blanket approach. We basically take an individual through what we call a means test. This test will look at the assets, will look in terms of how much we earn a month, and I think I agree with you. A person who may be doing some piece job, getting 1,000 or 500 would not be excluded. Would have to take you through a rigorous process to make sure that if indeed you qualify, you do qualify, but it differs from one grant to the other. But obviously, in agreeing with you in terms of what you just raised about 150, that person will definitely not be excluded. When they come and present themselves, they know exactly that we agree with them in terms of what is it that is expected of them.
So are we talking about professionals here, Paseka, in this instance? Is it people who basically appear to you, from the data you are seeing, to have a steady job somewhere with a steady income coming in, maybe through another bank account?
Two categories, Thulasizwe. One, a person will come to SASSA to make an application, and indeed they qualify when they present their credentials. However, when after 6 months or a year, the condition of this person would change. A person will get an employment, and obviously, in terms of the threshold, it will shoot up. In that instance, we are saying, please present yourself to us. Tell us that the conditions have changed. On the other one, it's a person who deliberately come to a SASSA office and present falsified credentials so that they can qualify for a grant.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time, Paseka Letsatsi, spokesperson for the South African Social Security Agency. Let's go straight to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, Motsoaledi speaks on NHI implementation costs and prime suspect in Olorato murder case killed in police shootout. Good morning. The Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, says it would be impossible to quantify the cost of implementing the National Health Insurance. He was speaking yesterday at a colloquium held in Hyde Park in Johannesburg by the Progressive Business Forum, aimed at unpacking the NHI Act and the future of healthcare in the country. Motsoaledi says costs will only be determined in stages.
Even UK in 1948, if you go to them and ask them, in 1948, how much was the NHI going to cost? Nobody will know. Because things change. If we give you a figure now and next year there's another epidemic bigger than Ebola, and we said, no, for healthcare we need this much, and then Ebola comes in or another epidemic bigger, how do you then respond to that? So you implement in phases at a particular period of time, depending on how much money you have got at that particular time.
KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says police have arrested 2 suspects that were with Pilangenkosi Makanya, who was the main suspect in the murder case of Olorato Mongale. Makanya died during a shootout with police in Amamzimtoti in KwaZulu-Natal in the early hours of the morning. Makanya's parents were also taken in for questioning on the matter after his mother allegedly tipped him off that police were looking for him. Mkhwanazi briefed the media outside a flat where Makanya was cornered and shot by police.
The team has been tracing from Johannesburg, working with KZN, following up the information. The vehicle was located in one of the townships, the Penel Beta shop, and the vehicle was traced to be belonging to an owner at Kwamashu Township. And we arrived there, and the boy was not there. The father confirmed that his son was using the vehicle. The son is the one that has been on the public space about being involved in the murder of that girl. We then be able to pick up the vehicle that picked him up yesterday morning, and we followed that vehicle until we located the car. From there, we were able to then trace all the movements of that vehicle, where it dropped off, who was traveling with them. So we do have the suspect driving the vehicle. We have the accomplice that was also with him.
Meanwhile, Mkhwanazi says the police forensic investigators have found bloodstains in the car that was driven by Makanya last weekend. Mkhwanazi says the vehicle found with bloodstains belongs to his father. Makanya's parents have been released after being questioned by the police in Gauteng. Mkhwanazi elaborates.
This boy was using that vehicle. It's a vehicle that he used to drive to Johannesburg, where the incident occurred, and he brought the vehicle back. And he took the vehicle to the Peanut Beta because it had some damage in it, and that's where we recovered the vehicle, and with some blood stains at the back of the back seat of the vehicle. The forensic people were processing it. We hope that blood stain will be linked with the victim.
The Mpumalanga Division of the High Court has sentenced a 49-year-old man to life imprisonment for the murder of his girlfriend. Anthony Mazibuko was found guilty of killing Mbali Makhawa a year ago following a heated argument. The incident occurred after the victim received a phone call from the father of the 2 children while the accused was present in their residence in Standerton. Since his arrest, the accused has remained in custody. Police discovered the victim's body at the scene, which showed multiple injuries. According to the police in the province, the accused was also declared unfit to possess a firearm. And finally, the UN's top official responsible for humanitarian aid has said the people of Gaza are being subjected to forced starvation by Israel. Tom Fletcher again called on the international community to prevent genocide in Gaza. He also denied Israel's allegations that much of the aid sent into Gaza had been stolen by Hamas. He said some supplies were taken, but most of the aid had gotten through. Fletcher told the BBC the world has a responsibility to take greater action to get aid into Gaza.
I think that history will be tough
in the way it judges us. And it must be. I think that a lot of what we've been seeing has been telegraphed. It's been announced in advance. We can't say we didn't know what was happening. And all I'm asking is for the international community to be able to say, tell them we did what we could.
Recapping the top story, the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, says it would be impossible to quantify the cost of implementing the National Health Insurance. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
This just in, Zandile, a 36-year-old woman, has added an unbelievable 918 rand a month more money to her budget. That's right. She switched to Outsurance and now saves 918 rand a month on her 2024 Cherry Tiggo 1.5 litre. Nice one, Zandile. Outsurance clients always get something out. You could too. Get a quote today and see how much they could save you on your car insurance. Why pay more when you could pay less? Switch to Outsurance today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer, Mamelodi Sundowns head to Cairo this weekend with one mission, return as African champions. And we bring you news from the French Open where Alex de Minaur says he is burnt out and demoralizes as he lashes out at the French Open organizers. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Couple of hold-ups now on Joburg's highways. One is the N3 going north, a crash at Buccleuch, a backlog down into Alex, a broken down vehicle, M1 south at William Mandela, delays heading in a backlog down towards that scene from Ravonia, and there's just been a smash on the Mike 1 south going into Crown, so some backlogging traffic through Braamfontein. Durban side, the N2 running north, still a breakdown around the N2 north up after the M7, so traffic is easing, volume's easing, but it's still a little bit sluggish getting past that in towards 4 level. Cape Town crash, N1 into town at Lower Church in Woodstock. That's heavy coming through from sort of N1 city side. Gets really heavy once you get past sort of Canal Walk in Century City. Big queues towards that Woodstock exit, both the Coburg Road through Brooklyn to get into the N1 and particularly and especially Marine Drive through Pardon Island to get into the N1. That's pretty heavy. R300 North is slow to get onto the N1 outbound, and a crash on your way between Somerset West and Stellenbosch on the R44 just past Annandale Road, causing quite a heavy backlog. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Friday. It is absolutely great to be in your company this morning. Various conversations flowing. Let me just read one or two of your WhatsApp messages because a few people prefer to not send the voice, you know. Some people are not there yet. We'll get there. So they'd rather just send a message. So, and that's fine if you want to do that. Let me read one that says, at some point, South Africa has to have difficult talks regarding the correctional services. The current systems in dealing with crime are not serving as deterrents, and retribution has waned through public, at least in the public perception. A referendum is needed because democracy needs a bit of autocracy to thrive. All right, so says that person, that democracy needs a bit of autocracy to thrive. But I get the point that you are making about the issue of retribution being an element in the punishment of crime. It absolutely is an element. Deterrence is also another one that you mentioned there, also important, also with that measure of mercy that the Judge Nathan Erasmus was talking about, for instance, in the Jocelyn Smith case. But absolutely, I get the point that you are making. Then someone else says, I've noticed that people who grew up under apartheid think justice is unaliving a person. I'll leave that there. So says that person who clearly did not grow up under apartheid, I imagine. I don't know. Just assuming from that comment, and especially that the use of that expression, unaliving, that I've noticed that people who grew up under apartheid think justice is unaliving a person. And then let me read you this one. It says, hands up to the KZN police. They are doing a good job and there is no striking a balance here. I wish all police in all 9 provinces can be like KZN police. We cannot be ruled by criminals to do as they please. That is Kehla Mkhwanazi. In fact, someone says, oh, okay, I get what they're doing there. They're talking about Commissioner Mkhwanazi. For National Commissioner is that call from that person. And on it goes. I've got lots of your voice notes and I'll be taking your calls. So let's get it started. This is the second hour of the morning brief on this Friday.
Welcome back to the sun-drenched shores of St. Marie, where the beaches are beautiful and the murders are mysterious. It's Death in Paradise Season 7. New cases, quirky suspects, and D.I. Jack Mooney, who's still figuring out the island and how to drink coconut water gracefully. Catch the show where paradise meets puzzling crime, because even in paradise, someone always has a secret. Death in Paradise Season 7, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on S3. S3, open up.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
The Copper Queens and the Zebras want to test each other's strength. This is not just an international friendly, they are gearing up for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Witness the thrilling battle between Zambia and Botswana on Saturday 31 May at 3 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sports. For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, I think I may have said welcome to the second hour of the morning brief. It shows that maybe I don't want to go home. Maybe I just want to stick around for a little bit longer. Let me take your voice notes now. Lots of them that have come through.
Simelane, happy Friday. You know, this Jocelyn Smith story, how can they don't know where Jocelyn went to?
All right, I think we played that a bit earlier on. Let me go straight to this one that has to do with the conversation we had with Paseka Letsatsi and those people that SASSA believes are double dippers in the system.
Morning, Thulas. This SASSA fraud is too deep, man. It's too deep. It starts from the clinic where nurses issued fraudulent the clinic cards for the babies. The Home Affairs, the fraudulent birth certificates, SASSA officials, you know, it's fraud all over the show. It's too deep for SASSA, but to handle. It's too deep, it's too hot. No man from Brixton.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. An ecosystem of fraud is what you are describing there, where across the value chain, there are opportunities for fraud, and those opportunities, as you say, are being exploited by those who want to commit and perpetrate that fraud.
Good morning, Tula. Are you aware that government employees that receive a government pension also qualifies to get a SASSA pension?
All right, that's an interesting one. I must say I've not researched that question. It would be interesting to see what the means test is, and perhaps we can have that conversation at a future date, maybe with a representative of SASSA or anyone else who understands how the social grants system works. Let's turn to this one, the one or two that are responding to the killing of the main suspect, the news coming through from KZN this morning.
Good morning, Thulas. South African Police Service, led by Commissioner Mkhwanazi in KZN, are hard at work. Their work is really commendable in KZN. I wish other subs in other provinces follow suit. what the subs in KZN are doing. It's really commendable. So this Nyolen Mafefe Limpopo. Thank you, Tulas.
Morning, Thulasizwe. Morning to you and the SAFM listeners. It's Tim Gosungoma in Cape Town. Thulas, just joining the rest of the people in congratulating General Mkhwanazi. It doesn't disappoint that man. Well done. Well done. Especially after your last speaker who indicated that it's like these people know their rights and they know that they're going to get away with it. So well done to General Mkhwanazi.
Morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners. Miles Buru is always talking nonsense about these criminals. You can't kill a person with intentions and then you thought that person should be given another chance. A murderer is a murderer. Those who live with sword, they must die with sword.
Yeah. So and on it goes. I mean, I think you get the point and you get the picture of the overwhelming sentiment. And in as much as I've been talking about the criminal justice system in its entirety vindicating our right to justice being meted out in the ordinary cause, I also am very much aware that in many instances, police find themselves, our crime situation is characterized by high levels of violence. So, I mean, I think at some level, it's inevitable that there will be these confrontations that we've been seeing in the last few months, especially in areas like KZN, and increasingly I've been seeing also in Gauteng, where, I mean, if you are in a war, if the one side is firing, what is the other side to do? So there's that as well. As much as it's tricky and difficult to call for more violence to be introduced in the ecosystem, but the reality is violence has been a feature of our crime situation, extreme violence in many instances. So I think that's where this sentiment you are hearing is coming from. Oli in Sekunda, good morning. You want to talk to me about Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi?
Yes,
Ngiyaphila kunjani?
You know, I really don't understand the criteria in order to appoint a minister. Because if I was Cyril Ramaphosa or whoever appoints a minister, I should have taken this guy and be the minister of police. Because if you go to Johannesburg is a very high crime place. And that Mkhwanazi is AWOL. I can't even talk about Friends of Kun. They should have taken this guy from KZN and be a minister. Because we need a spirit like, remember that.
Sorry, Collie, who's AWOL? Did you mean to say the commissioner, Fanny Masemola?
I've never heard about Fanny Masemola for so long. But if you can take, in Gauteng, it's a high place of crime. But then they should have taken this guy to be a minister. Some is busy running around with blue lights, doing nothing. I don't understand.
Let me throw a spanner in the works for you. Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi was recently asked about whether he has any interest in taking up the position of head of the Hawks, which will become, open when Godfrey Lebeya leaves that position. And his answer there was that, Mina, I'm an operational person. I want to fight. I want to be on the streets fighting crime. Making him minister would take him away from what he says he's passionate about. He wants to be operational, boots on the ground, fighting. So I don't know if he would welcome being a minister.
But you remember Peggy in the first place, the real Peggy, not the last Peggy who was sleeping, just going around and taking useless. The Peggy that introduced TRT.
Yes.
Remember that Peggy? Yes. We need a minister like this.
Yeah.
Why this guy says, I had hope before. I mean, now I can see that,
right.
No. They must take some corners to the National Commission and remove this, who's this guy's Masemo.
Yeah.
I must go.
Okay. Let's leave it there. That's Oli in Sekunda. Let me go to Mbona in Mahikeng. Good morning to you, Mbona. You want to raise something completely different that came out from the Auditor General and the reporting about local government. Please go ahead.
Yeah, the PAC.
Yes.
How can you treat one manager as having a position in public without proper qualification? How are we going to get a service delivery?
Yeah.
And this problem is here in our province in Northwest, and it is all over. We've been crying for our service delivery. Now the problem is our so-called managers and leaders, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So that becomes a major problem. I mean, it's broken.
It's a major problem.
The system is broken even before anything can happen in the appointments that are made, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. This is corruption in academics, actually. Yeah.
All right. Bona, thank you for that. And what you raise is an issue that many people have raised about, making sure that you have the right fit in terms of the people that you appoint, people who are fit for purpose within the civil service. I want to take a quick voice note before I go to the break. I see something very interesting here. Someone talking about the hiring of vehicles for the purposes of committing crimes. Let's hear what that is about.
Morning, Thulasizwe. I just want to respond to Linda. Does he know that there are people who go to Avis and hire cars just to kidnap and rob people? They go to hitchhiking spots, mostly towards month end, just to rob people who are hiking.
Sure.
They kidnap you, they withdraw money with your card.
So what you're describing actually sounds quite close and similar to what the police have been telling us about this work of this alleged syndicate that was involved in the killing of Olorato, because that's exactly what they're describing. They're talking about 90 cases across the country that they say they believe are linked to this syndicate. So it's quite interesting. Do share those tidbits about how some of these crimes work. And perhaps, you could save someone's life and perhaps warn someone about being extra vigilant about the modus operandi of some of these criminal syndicates.
Get down to Dischem this Friday 30 May to Sunday 1st June for incredible one weekend only 2+1 cheapest free deals on the widest range of sports supplements, energy drinks and bars from top brands like Biogen, NPL, USN, Primal and many more. Get expert advice from our in-store consultants to help you reach your health and fitness goals. Excludes all advertised products. Only at Dischem. Better health starts here.
EFC is live this Thursday. The indestructible champion Zakir Badat descends from the wild mountains to defend his welterweight title against Nigeria's electrifying kickboxing champion Segun Ogunaike. Plus, Timnan Lawuli takes on Sibusiso Suvendila, and undefeated Kevin Pretorius steps up to challenge Oswaldo Benedito. EFC 124 live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Let's give credit to the initial reporting of Business Day on this story. The country faces the risk of its flights being barred from US and EU airspace due to non-compliance with international aviation accident investigation protocols. According to Business Day, the Department of Transport's draft civil aviation policy warns that the country's failure to establish an independent aircraft accident investigation unit as required by international treaties could trigger devastating consequences for tourism, trade and national security. But the country is not in a spot of bother only in that regard. It's also in a spot of bother as far as its obligations go around the defense forces' ability to keep its international search and rescue obligations, and that has also been found wanting according to the reporting on Business Day. So let's speak to Lyndon Burns, who will break it down for us. Let's start with the issue in the skies, Lyndon. Tell me what this is all about, the policy that is a draft from the department. What is it saying? Because talk of the potential of our flights being barred from US and EU skies, that's serious. That's got serious consequences.
Morning to listeners and to everyone who's listening today. Yes, it is a serious issue. I think the risk of us losing access to airspace is actually quite remote. It is a serious matter. There is a major conflict of interest in the current setup regarding air accident investigation investigations in the country. Now, what happens is any time there is a serious reportable incident or accident involving an aircraft in South African skies, that has to be investigated. And one of the things that happens in an investigation is that the regulating authority that grants the licenses to those aircraft or pilots or engines or the maintenance facility that's used for keeping those aircraft serviceable comes under scrutiny to examine their acts and omissions in allowing that aircraft and those pilots to operate. Okay, and you can't have a situation where the investigators are housed within the regulatory body, are on its premises, are subject to its security and access control, its IT network, and also to the head of that body for their performance reviews and pay bonuses. And also it shouldn't be reporting to the same minister.
Yeah.
Frankly, what it should be is a Chapter 9 body, like the Public Protector, that reports only to Parliament. The argument that there is no funding for it, I think, is a red herring. It's currently funded, but it is housed within the South African Civil Aviation Authority. So it should just be able to be moved out and the funding ring-fenced for that.
So something akin to the NTSB in the United States, I imagine.
Precisely. And the ironic thing is that we've passed the enabling legislation 15 years ago. It's already on the statutes. It's just never been followed through and executed.
Let's talk quickly, Lyndon, about the situation.
Now about search and rescue.
About search and rescue. What's that dynamic?
Right. So the situation there is that South Africa has signed international treaties, both multilateral and bilateral. We have a massive search and rescue zone of responsibility. It stretches across the South Atlantic Ocean, halfway to Brazil, and then down to the South Pole, and halfway across the Indian Ocean, and then down to the South Pole. Not Antarctic, but the South Pole. And it covers everything from the sky to the ocean bed. We only have 3 or 4 frigates, of which one at any time seems to be seaworthy. We only seem to have 1 submarine that is seaworthy at any given time. And we only have 1 transport aircraft that might be capable of flying to the furthest point, but not actually maintaining a patrol and a search and rescue at that point. We only have 1 available at the moment. Occasionally, it's not always airworthy. And that puts us in huge breach of our international obligations under the International Civil Aviation Organization and the International Maritime Organization. We have thousands of ships sailing through our zone of responsibility. We have lots of airline flights and other aircraft flying through our zone of responsibility, even to the South Pole.
All right, Lyndon, let's leave it there for this morning. I think we've started the conversation, but I can see that it gets back to that issue around the funding of the South African National Defence Force and ensuring its effectiveness overall. That's Lyndon Burns, who is Managing Director and Partner at Plain Talking, also an aviation expert.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Welcome to Sport. Mamelodi Sundowns head to Cairo this weekend with one mission: return as African champions. After a 1-1 draw at home, the pressure is on to deliver against Pyramids in the second leg of the CAF Champions League final on Sunday night. It kicks off at 7 p.m. Sunday at the 30th of June Stadium. You can catch it live on SABC Sport. Domestic football, SuperSport United have officially avoided relegation playoffs after drawing 1-1 with Golden Arrows. It ended bizarrely a prolonged fixture that was abandoned earlier this year. Interim coach Aaron Arnser says it was one of the most important 45 minutes he's ever managed.
I was saying this morning to my technical team, I've been in the game for over 30 years, having the honor playing at the highest level, experiencing the nerves, the pressure, but this is on a totally different level. And this is what we have to show. The character that I asked for my players to come into this game and just do what we had to do to see it through. The commitment, the focus, it was all there today, and I can't fault that. And it's all down to them. All the credit must go to the players.
Some cricket news. England racked up 400 to begin Harry Brooks' reign as captain with a comprehensive 238-run defeat of the West Indies in the first one-day international at Edgbaston. And finally, tennis. Alex de Minaur has joined the chorus of tennis voices calling for the crowded men's tennis schedule to be shortened, warning that players are in danger of having their careers ended early with physical and mental burnout. This after he was beaten by Alexander Bublik at Roland Garros.
The solution is you shorten it, because what's going to happen is players' careers are going to get shorter and shorter because they're just going to burn out mentally. There's just too much tennis. And look, there's no excuse again for today, myself and what happened today. I need to look at myself in the mirror and find out the reasonings, because ultimately this isn't going to change.
And that's your sport. Don't miss Spotlight with me, Zai Khan, this Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. I'll check you then.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says the search is still underway for 2 more suspects wanted in connection with the murder of a student in Johannesburg last weekend. Mkhwanazi was addressing the media at the scene in Amanzimtoti, where the main suspect has been killed in a shootout with police in the early hours of this morning. The Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, says it would be impossible to quantify the cost of implementing the National Health Insurance. He was speaking yesterday at a colloquium held in Hyde Park in Johannesburg by the Progressive Business Forum. And Russia has reportedly made more than $25 billion last year alone, exporting fossil fuels to the European Union. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy backlogs at this hour on Joburg Z3 North. A crash at Buccleuch interchange. Traffic parking all the way back through to Modderfontein Road. Some pressure on the Mike 1 North as well. Melrose up to Greyston Drive. Looking slow and southbound from sort of Houghton down to Parktown, down towards the Houghton Drive exit. There's a bit of traffic there. Apart from that, it's a very easy Friday across Gauteng Province. Durban, a crash on the N2 North running into a gateway. Delays with traffic backing up towards Komashi. We are getting a lot of calls and messages about what's going on this weekend between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. It's westbound. It's Pietermaritzburg bound only. Saturday and Sunday, the N3 will drop to a single lane for some surveying works between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So a 6-hour period on both days. It's going to be absolute chaotic and absolute madness. Start preparing yourself to familiarise that old road route, the M13 from Hillcrest, R103 and Old Main. That'll work nicely as a detour to keep yourself moving. And Cape Town, earlier crash, M1 into town at Woodstock's being cleared. That's left a backlog of traffic from Canal Walk area into the city centre, and behind that Marine Drive badly backed up through Pardon Island to get into the N1. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling Lechela. I don't know about you, Ndauling. I did not expect that cut. Was I alone in not expecting the sub to lower interest rates?
Even when you at the expectations before the meeting even started, many economists were really divided about the move, especially considering the governor's cautious tone in the March meeting, where he warned of global risks and particularly Trump's trade policies and the impact that could have on the trajectory of global inflation. So, yeah, most of us, we weren't sure.
Nice surprise. Yeah, for a change. Tell me about more about what they said.
That's right, Thulas. A really good surprise and coming in as a relief. So the MPC cutting rates by 25 basis points. We are seeing this come through as inflation has remained below the SARB's 3 to 6% target range. The last print shows that inflation ticks slightly higher, but at 2.8% in April. That, of course, giving policymakers some wiggle room to cut rates, and that's exactly what they did. cutting rates by 25 basis points. It was a unanimous decision, with one member of the MPC even pushing for a more aggressive cut of 50 basis points. Some economists say this suggests that there's even further room for more rate reductions this year. Chief economist at Old Mutual, Johan Els, projects cuts of 75 basis points, including yesterday's reduction. He is pegging in 2 more rate cuts this year. Now, the move takes the repo rate to 7.25%, putting the prime lending rate used by commercial banks to 10.75%. As mentioned, some relief coming through for households, especially those that have accumulated debt.
Sure, and a unanimous decision at that.
Yep.
And also the possibility that one of them talking about a 50 basis points.
That's right, Tula. So it just shows that, the rate at which inflation is falling, it seems like they're really happy with that. They even lowered their expectations for inflation for the year, because initially there was expectations that inflation will increase past the midpoint, considering that hike we would have gotten. But with that being scrapped, they are expecting pressures to inflation to the downside.
And the next story you're covering links exactly to that, the producer price inflation. Tell me about it and how it remained steady in April.
So another indicator to us that suggests consumer inflation will remain low, the producer price index that tracks prices of goods at the production level before they get to consumers. In April, producer inflation remained steady at 0.5%. On a monthly basis, though, the producer price index increased by a similar margin, 0.5%, driven by higher food, beverages and tobacco prices. Despite this, the annual PPI rate is the lowest positive rate recorded in nearly 5 years. Food prices rose 4.7%, with notable increases in meat and meat products and bakery products. On the other hand, fuel prices dropped significantly, with petrol and diesel prices falling 16.3% and 14.5% respectively. Now, RMB Chief Economist Isaiah Mhlanga noted that the overall trend suggests producer prices are still relatively low, and says this could keep consumer prices in check.
That said, Ntauleng, what kind of a day can we expect in the markets today?
The local markets are likely to start mixed, as we've seen negative sentiment filter through on the global front. On the earnings scene, numbers out from Dis-Chem today, so traders will be assessing that. And then looking at the rand, the local unit remains stable, really strong at 17.85 to the dollar this hour. Traders here at home digesting yesterday's rates decision. Over in Wall Street, futures are in negative territory. Investors are eyeing the Fed's preferred inflation print, that being the PCE print, out later today. Meanwhile, in Asia, markets on track to close the week on a sour note, with investors assessing trade concerns.
All right, Ntauleng, thank you for that. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. That is Ntauleng Lechela there. She has kept you updated on all news to do with business, economics, and the markets throughout the course of the show today.
We all have an enemy.
Not me.
Oh, please. Trust me, you do. Some are vocal about it. I mean, they don't shy away from it. Open hatred. Well, at least they're honest about it. Then you get our Satan. Oh, they will hate you in the shadows. Consult the Magoya of Baloi. Maybe an Inkabi for you here and there. Trash your name until it can't even be recycled. Tune into My Secret Enemy and get a front row seat to some of the most spine-chilling stories in the whole of betrayal. My Secret Enemy, Mondays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Yeah, let's give you a story that is, I think it's quite uplifting, given, everything that has been going on in the country. Something to cheer about. This Friday, a British-born South African physician, Dr. Helen Rees, will receive the prestigious Dr. Lee Yong-wook Memorial Prize for Public Health at the World Health Assembly in Geneva. The award honors her decades-long commitment to human rights-driven health equity, from her early activism in apartheid-era Johannesburg to her influential role in global health policy today. As international health systems confront dwindling donor support and rising global inequity, Reese's legacy offers both a blueprint and a challenge to the future. She joins me now to have that conversation. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Congratulations. What does this honor mean to you?
Well, thank you very much, Thulasizwe. I mean, well, it is a lifetime award. So I guess what it means is that all the different things I've done in a lifetime have amounted to being recognized. And it's just a great honor to be recognized for a life's work in particular. Yeah.
And I can tell you being modest and humble about it, but let's talk about it a bit more. There's a sense that it's not just been about the technical know-how and clinical work delivery for you. Am I correct in that in that reading, that what's been your driving ethos? For instance, why South Africa is your point of service to fulfill your life's mission?
No, I think that's true, and I think if I look back even into my school days and my university days, I was a doctor that was passionate about community and people and politics that went with it for me, so I think I often have sort of said I was an activist before I was a doctor, and so that's a feeling that. Medicine isn't only about curing people and making people well, it's also about understanding the context in which they live. And I don't think, for me, you can be a doctor or a researcher unless you are also sensitive to the environment of the people that you're working in and trying to do something about that as well.
And when you look at the body of work that you've been able to do, particularly with the Wits Reproductive Health and HIV Institute, RHI. Does it go back all the way to 1994, if I'm not mistaken? Just the body of work. What's your reflection on the body of work, given how challenging both subjects are, reproductive health as well as the fight against HIV and leading in the research in that space?
Well, before 1994, I was part of a group of healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, dentists. We were working inside the country in different organizations against the apartheid regime. And then we worked with the ANC in exile, their health desk. So I was able to develop some of the health policies with other colleagues that became the health policy for the country. So when 1994 came, one of the things we recognized was that there had been very little research done in the country that met the needs or addressed the needs of the majority of people here. So that's why I set up what was then RHIU with just 5 people to do research really looking at women's health, reproductive health. But of course, HIV immediately came into the equation. And so we did a lot of work, a lot of research there, but also working very closely with communities. And I'm now based in Hillbrow, a community which has a huge amount of social need as well, and many health problems. So wherever we are, whenever we're doing research, we are with and in the communities, working with them to answer some of these scientific questions, but also social questions.
Would it be correct to characterize the current environment around the global health architecture, the institutions, that it's quite a challenging moment, not only facing issues to do with the dwindling donor funding, the withdrawal of long-term support from sources such as the United States, but also the challenges that healthcare workers, including those associated with the United Nations, increasingly face in conflict situations such as the one in Gaza?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, many people listening will have, of course, heard of the World Health Organization, and that's been a sort of central leadership group since the middle of the 1940s, leading the way in terms of thinking about what are the global health priorities. But if you think about it, their funding is cut. Many of the UN agencies are cut. Many of the funding agencies for things like vaccines and TB and malaria have also been cut. So this is a time where everyone is having to say, well, we've got less money. Do we still have problems? Huge problems. I mean, if we take our foot off the pedal of HIV and TB, they'll come back. We haven't got rid of them. We're not on top of them. So we've got to keep on top of that globally as well as nationally. But we're also, on the other hand, saying we are a threat, and we've just had COVID. There is a very real threat, really a very real threat of another pandemic. So if we lose the leadership of these international organizations, come a next pandemic, we could be unable to sort of galvanize a global response, which is what we saw we needed with COVID.
The prize that you are receiving, of course, Prof, is named Dr. Lee Yong-wook Prize, and it's named after the late WHO Director General. Can the WHO and other institutions like it survive this onslaught and continue to, hold fort, even in challenging circumstances going forward?
Yes, they can. But I think what everyone is now saying is, what is WHO's core mandate? It is leadership, but it's also a global surveillance, it's pandemic coordination, but it's also setting what we call norms and standards. So, if you have, say, a new vaccine in the world that you want to use, it's WHO that will review all of the data and then also look at what are the programmatic and the feasibility questions and the cost effectiveness. They set all those standards that countries can then use and adapt. But WHO is looking very hard now what is its core function, and it is emergencies and it is essential health programs. That is the core function, and we do need that leadership. But because of these very sudden cuts, just as we're doing in the country, we're all having to say, in the short term, what do we do? Because we've got fewer staff and less money. And then I think we're having to regroup with proper thinking, planning, so we can act smarter in the future with less resources. And that's what is happening globally and nationally.
Let's end it, Prof, on a note that's closer to home. What are the hard conversations we need to be having as South Africans about our healthcare system in light of those funding cuts that we are talking about, but also in light of the debates we are having around universal health insurance and coverage and access for everyone?
Well, I think the immediate discussion that's going on is it possible to get some money for the National Health Department of Health in the provinces from the Treasury? And that's a discussion that's ongoing in the background. And the aim of that is simply to do a short-term, if you like, a Band-Aid, because we've lost a huge amount of money, resources, human resources, from the HIV and TB programs. So we have to do something urgently because we cannot lose people to care, and we've got to also have a significant prevention campaign. So that's short term. But I think in the medium term, we're spending a lot of money on health. Have we got the most efficient model for health service delivery? Probably not. Can we use new technology? I mean, we're very keen to do digitization of record keeping. Yes, we have to do that, because if we can do that and invest in that, then we're going to be able to manage our health services better and also plan better. And then also just looking at appropriate technologies. But I think just re-looking at the way we are running our health services, both in terms of competent management and the skills of our healthcare workers, but also the tools that we're using. So we are going to have to regroup and really rework on that.
I see that the award is being announced in Geneva. The line doesn't sound like you're out of the country. Are you traveling to Geneva?
I received it last week, in fact, at the World Health Assembly in the United Nations.
Yes, I see. Yes. I was about to say that I see that it comes with a certain prize money, which we won't announce in public. I'm available for lunch. If you
No. I tell you what, all that prize money is going to salaries of staff who've been affected by these cuts from the U.S. government and PEPFAR. Yeah.
All right. Congratulations once again. That's Professor Helen Rees, who is Executive Director at the Vets Reproductive Health and HIV Institute.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Update on the N3 in Joburg. It's been heavily backed up this morning into an earlier crash up at Buccleuch interchange. Traffic still very slow from Limbro Park, but it seems to be sort of easing off. Crash on the Mike 1 running south at Parktown, just near Houghton Drive. So from Houghton Estate, moving in towards Joburg Central direction, it's very slow. Pretoria looks good. Hard to find anything that represents a delay locally around Trani area this morning. Durban, crash into going north at, halfway between Komashu and Gateway. So there's some queuing pressure there, although that is starting to ease. And the Phoenix Highway out of Phoenix towards a Trade Centre junction. An earlier crash still backlogging traffic there as well. Don't forget that overnight closure in Durban this weekend. 7 p.m. on Saturday, right through until 7 a.m. Monday. Sunday. So it's just Saturday night. 7 p.m. Saturday until 7 a.m. Sunday. N2 North Komashi through to Gateway will be fully closed for some overhead gantry works. Cape Town, the R304, if you're going in or out of the Stellenbosch, quite heavy backlogs just south of the N1 around the R101 junction in Justenburg, and the N1 inbound slow moving just through Kuburg interchange towards the city centre area. Marine Drive slow through Pardon Island, some traffic light issues, and then just clogging up into that N1 backlog. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Slipper Day is on the 30th of May, and I'm helping to make big dreams come true. When you support Slipper Day, you're helping Reach for a Dream bring smiles and joy to children facing tough illnesses. Do you want to help too? You can visit reachforadream.org.za to find out more about Slipper Day. Let's do it for the dreamers! This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Pyramids FC is highly confident that they will make history by engraving their name in African football books for their first ever star, while Masandawana believe they know how to prevail away from home. Cairo tackles Turco. This is the second leg battle of the Total Energies CAF Champions League final. Catch Pyramids FC versus Mamelodi Sundowns FC this Sunday, 1 June at 6:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. Your nights just got a turbo boost. Buckle up, because at 10 p.m. it's all thrill, mystery and pure entertainment. Mondays to Wednesdays, we are back on the track with Top Gear Season 14, where speed meets insanity and the world's wildest cars get pushed to their limits. On Thursdays, we uncover the truth in Imposter, Back from the Dead. Season 1 kicks off with chilling twists in a tale of deception, survival, and secrets long buried. Fridays, we take a deep dive into the unknown with Secrets of the Bermuda, exploring the myths, the disappearances, and the terrifying truth behind the world's most infamous triangle. 3 explosive shows, 1 unforgettable hour. It all starts at 10 p.m. only on S3. Don't miss it!
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let's end it off on that note. Let me hear from you. So I'll pull back a little bit and take as many of the voice notes and calls as we can possibly take. And the topics are varied, obviously, including that issue around the Social Security Agency, talking about 210,000 beneficiaries that they believe are double dipping in the system, in that they have another source of income.
Good morning, Thulas. Can you please ask Mr. Pasakali Tsachi of SASA how much was those 210 people costing the fiscus? How much money was being paid to them every month? Anonymous from Soweto, thank you, please.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry I didn't get to ask that question, but that's a critical question about how much it's all been costing in the system, because it takes from someone. Every time something like that happens, especially the ones who are said to be defrauding the system, it is stealing from someone who really needs that social assistance.
Good morning, Thulas. Nanlabana KZ10. Justice served for the brilliant, innocent young lady that she got killed for nothing. Yeah, this is the right way to go. And you can think of how many IDs has been found with this guy and the cell phones. Then you can think of the suffering of lot of innocent girls out there. Great job, police.
A very good morning to you, Tilasani. This is Salim from Durban, KZN. What happened in Amamzin Toti? Police shoots and kill the suspect that, was shooting at police. This is what we expect of police, and this is what we call law and order. Police need to be given the power to defend themselves, and police must be able to shoot suspect. Anyone that tries to pull out a gun, that is the right thing. Well done to the police, and well done to the Commissioner of Police.
Yeah, just before I respond to the substantive point you are making there about the right of police to shoot in defense of lives, of their own lives and other people's lives, I'm just chuckling because the various iterations of my name every morning, I find that to be quite interesting, and I don't mind at all. It's okay as long as we are having the conversation. Sometimes I'm Thulisani, I'm Thulani. What's the other one? Thomas. I can be Thomas at times. Then I'm Oliver Dixon. But it's all good. It's all in good spirit as long as the conversation continues. Let me speak to Tsepo in Tshwane. Good morning to you, Tsepo. You want to talk to me about the road accident fund and the shenanigans and goings on there?
Yes, actually, look, I'm a practicing attorney in Pretoria, and I do a bit of rough matters. Not a lot, but
yes.
Look, I have to say, Collins Letswalo, I am a fan of the guy. In as far as he's exposing the shenanigans that many of my colleagues are engaged in, and we need to defend him and we need to commend him. There are areas that we don't agree with him, but it is tried that we will not always agree with the CEOs of the parastatals and so on. But the guy has really done a lot. Do I think that he's being targeted? I would not say so up until somebody proves that indeed he's being targeted. But really he has done a great deal of work to bring in the colleagues that are really milking unfairly so the system.
Yeah.
But he has also damaged the system. If you look at the point that the chairperson of the SCOPA has raised yesterday in terms of the default judgment, RAF is losing a lot of money in default judgments. They do not defend the matters. They go to court. I walk away with my 4 million. I give my client his or her 3 million. I walk away with my 1 million. Who do you fault? They don't defend the matters, and you cannot defend me as a lawyer. You cannot accuse me as a lawyer or accuse my clients for the inaction of the road accident fund.
Yeah.
So we have to have a balanced reporting and a balanced attack and condemnation, but we have to commend the guy for
And I thank you for calling, Tsepo, and I like your balanced approach and acknowledging the advantages that come through for you as attorneys in the system, but at the same time saying that he has done quite a great deal. So you're saying that you don't share this perspective that suggests that he's being targeted because he's dared touch a system that was a cash cow, some say, for many
attorneys. And I'll tell you why,
yes,
and I'll tell you why. It does not make sense why he would be targeted just 3 months at the end of his contract. Why did he not get targeted at the beginning? Because he came in quite strong from the onset. He said, I am going to expose and I'm going to fight the shenanigans and the corruption that is happening in the RAF. Surely if somebody wanted to target him, he would have started right at the beginning of his term.
Yeah.
Why target him now at the end of his term? It does not make any sense, and I do not agree with the sentiment. It just does not make sense.
Tsepo, thank you for that call. If you don't mind, please stay on hold. Let me ask the team to just take your numbers so that we can be able to have a further conversation. I'd love to follow up on that conversation. That's Tsepo in Tshwane. Let me take Katu in Centurion. Good morning to you, Katu. Please go ahead.
Formula Ripe. I've just converted your name to Venda, so yeah.
Say it again.
Formula Ripe.
Formula Ripe.
Let us hear.
Nice, love it.
Good morning. My point, I hope not to belabor this, it's on the resources of the police. A few years ago, a friend was murdered, and Pretoria West Police Station, we were following up and everything. The detective was just saying, guys, I've got 293 murders, and 293 families are trying to follow up with me. And where I come from in Venda, the Thohoyandou Police Station had some of the highest rates in the country. I got to investigate why. And I found that Thohoyandou Police Station serves 6 towns and 113 villages. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is one police station that has the resources in the police station. You've got about 4 or 5 of them who are doing affidavits and all these things at the front desk. And then whatever is left over, these are the people that investigate crimes and whatnot. So as much as we can say the police are not doing their job, you can be the best policeman in this country, But if the systems and the resources of where you are do not allow you to perform, you also get disheartened and there's nothing much you can do.
Simply
100%.
overwhelmed. I've heard some police officers talking about when they have that caseload that similar to what you are describing. Sometimes the best you can do by way of investigation is pick up the phone and call the victim once a week to say, hey, listen, your matter is still being investigated. And that's it. Because a new case is added every other day.
Two solutions, Thulasizwe, before I go. It's either private security takes over or does a lot of the jobs as they do in KZN, or we have that White House Oval Office discussion to say, United States, we need help in South Africa to deal with crime.
All right, Katu, thank you for that. That's Katu in Centurion. And I like that at the end of it, you come through with solutions. It's solutions workshopping, as we always do on the show. But that's it, really. That's where we have to leave it. That is our full and final account to you, at least for this Friday morning, in lieu of your morning brief. More quality news, current affairs, and talk programming still to come here on SAFM throughout the day, actually. But starting with the talking point immediately after the news with Ann Musa.
In our top stories, manhunt for two more suspects in Olerato murder case, and Mutuledi speaks on NHI implementation costs. Good morning. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says the search is still underway for two more suspects wanted in connection with the murder of a student in Johannesburg last weekend. Mkhwanazi was addressing the media at the scene in Amanzimtoti, where the main suspect has been killed in a shootout with police in the early hours of this morning. Pilangenkosi Makanya was killed in the shootout. He's one of three people the police have been looking for in connection with the murder of 30-year-old Wits master student Olerato Mongale. Two other suspects